Hey, what's up, Brew Crew? Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've got a big pile of games all around me right now. All of these games are games that are on my shelf of shame or shelf of opportunity, if you prefer. Um, all of these are ones that I'm really excited to play. I really don't know where to start. And so I thought maybe I'd make this list just to kind of get some feedback from the folks that watch this video. Let me know what of these games I should play next. Um, some of these are brand new. Some of them are games that I've picked up used at either a convention or on a consignment shelf at our FLGS. I'm going to start off with some of the smaller games and then work my way up to some of the larger games. I believe at my last count there were 34 games that I had unplayed on my shelf of shame. So let's get started. And yeah, if you see anything that you think I should play, make sure to let me know in the comments. Okay, let's get started. So the first one is Arboretum. This is one that I picked up at Gen Con just after the updated version was released. In fact, this is the copy that has the misspelling of Arboretum on the backs of the cards, which is it's funny. It's a little funny that it happened. I kind of like the fact that this is a bit of a off the wall thing that probably not a lot of folks are going to have. So it's hard to part ways with it. I haven't played it yet. I think the reason is we've heard that the game is much more cutthroat than I guess we first expected. Then you look at the front of that box, it does not look like a cutthroat game. But from what I understand, it's a little bit more take thatty than what we typically enjoy. So I think that's the reason that one hasn't gotten played yet. Ooh, I'm gonna have a hard time finding room for all these. Next up, we've got Ghosts of Christmas. This is from Board Game Tables, now All Play. This is a trick-taking game from what I understand, and it's one that it sounds like you can play like multiple tricks at the same time between like past, present, and future. That's kind of what I understand. It was a really fascinating concept. We really like trick-taking games. My wife and I grew up in the Midwest where euchre is huge here in Michigan. So, we grew up playing that. So anytime there's a new trick-taking game out, especially one that's got kind of a cool twist like that, we're typically interested in it. So that's why we picked that one up. Just haven't had a chance to get that one to the table yet. Next up, Brussels 1897. So Brussels 1893 is a game that we've played and really like, and this I believe is the card game version of that. I'm intrigued to see. So the original game had a pretty cool worker placement aspect, with kind of a twist, which if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I like it when games take something that is familiar but kind of put a cool twist on it. And Brussels 1893 did that with worker placement. So I'm curious to see how that is implemented into a card game version. I've heard that the game is good, so fingers crossed. So hopefully we can get that one to the table soon. Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama. This is a flip and write game that... So maybe I'm a little bit in the minority here, but generally I don't tend to get super excited about flip and write or roll and write style games. I think they're fine. I've played a lot of them that I like, and we own a few. But generally speaking, I don't tend to get super excited about them. But this was one that came out kind of before the real flipping right and rolling right craze kind of hit. And so this was one that I was really curious to play, and it has just sat on my shelf for quite a while now. Uh, and the thing is, it's a pretty short game too, so I'm not sure why I have not played this one yet. Um, I think it just tends to get overshadowed by some of the bigger, flashier games that we've had. So, and I think that's probably going to be the case for a lot of these games. But so that's Kokoro Avenue of the Kodama. Next up is we've got Neanderthal. Now this one, I've read the rules for this multiple times, and I can't wrap my head around the way that these rules are written. They're not written like a typical. It's Sierra Madre Games and Phil Eklund, known for very heavy, very thematic but heavy games, and this was given to me as a gift, and I've tried so many times to read this rulebook and understand what I'm supposed to do, and every time I think about getting this to the table, I just get exhausted just thinking about it. So I would like to try it someday, but as of right now, that it may be a while before that one gets to the table. All right, next is This House is Haunted. I don't know if too many people know what this game is or have ever heard of this game. It's one that I heard about in kind of passing on a podcast once. It's a game where you are from your house basically becomes part of the game. You hide little decks of cards throughout the house, I guess, and you are trying to collect certain items from these decks of cards. But if you draw the wrong card from these decks, you may become haunted or cursed or something to that effect, which means that you now become almost like a traitor, I guess. I don't really know for sure, and that's going to be the case for a lot of these because I haven't obviously played them yet. But it just sounded like such a cool concept. I want to get like a large group of people together and play this like at Halloween or something. It sounds like a ton of fun. It sounds like a laugh riot. So I would definitely like to give it a try. But it's one of those things where it's very difficult to get a large group of people together for one game night, especially for a game of this type that's a little bit off the wall. But it sounds so much like so much fun. So I hope I get to play this at some point soon. Next up, we've got Rest in Pieces. Now this one's a pretty new acquisition for us. I picked this up at Grand Con last year, and it's a board/RPG game that uses a Jenga style tower basically to determine success or failure. I've heard of there's another RPG that uses it, and I'm totally blanking on the name right now. I want to say Dread, but I don't know if that's correct. Somebody fact check me. But the name of that game looked really fun. I love that concept, and so when I saw this, I thought, you know what, this one is one. It's here. I like the idea of supporting a small publisher that was willing to come to Grand Con, so pick this one up. Just have not had a chance to get it to the table yet, but it looks neat. I love the art. It looks very kind of Rick and Morty regular show kind of animation style illustrations to it. So it looks fun. So that's Rest in Pieces. Whoa, that was loud. I hope that didn't hurt anybody's ears. Next up, I've got QE, which is the auction game where you can basically, from what I understand, bid any amount that you would like. But if you overspend at the end of the game, then you can't win. Um, I got this one mostly out of curiosity. I don't quite understand how this can work. So I'm very interested to see how it works. I mean, it must. It's been raved about since it came out, so um, it must work. I just can't imagine how. So I think it's one that I gotta play for myself. So that's QE. Uh, Next up, actually, we've got two games here from Pandasaurus that we picked up at Gen Con last year. Dinosaur Island Roar and Right and Umbra Via. Both of these we picked up at Gen Con on the final day, so they were, pricing things to move. So we decided to give these a try. Again, Roll and Right's not something I generally get too excited about, but I do love Dinosaur Island, so figured that one was worth a try. Umbra Via, the cover looks really pretty. The tiles themselves look maybe not so much, but we do tend to enjoy games that have that nature theme to them. So animals, gardening, plants, things like that. So that's one of the reasons why we picked this one up. So that's another one that we need to get to the table. Okay, we're going to start moving our way into some of the bigger games now. Not necessarily heavier, just larger box size, I guess. So next up is Blue Lagoon from the Dr. Rainer Knizia. This one, again, super simple rules from what I understand. Very quick playing game. Not really a good excuse for why I haven't gotten this one played yet. I've heard it's really good, especially if you like kind of route building type games and like area, not area control, but more like area kind of cutting off in building your routes. It looks like a really good game, and it looks like one that I would like. So again, no real great excuse as to why we haven't played this one yet. Plus, that cover is gorgeous. I love that cover art. So, got to get that one played soon. This one was kind of just a quirky off-the-wall pickup on the Gen Con flea market last year, I believe it was. Battle Ball, football-themed board game, which I don't have many of. I would like to find one that I enjoy. I do like watching American football, and so I like I want to have a American football themed game to play, but it's hard to find one that sounds like one that I would enjoy. I've looked into Blood Bowl. I think that one might be a little too in-depth for me to really jump into it. I would probably enjoy it, but I probably would not get that one played very often either, to be honest. So when this one came up and it was pretty inexpensive, I thought, you know what, I'll give that a try. So that's why we picked that one up. Okay. Oh, this one's a heavy one. All right. Whew. This was another fairly recent acquisition, and that's Eclipse. Twilight Imperium is one of my favorite games of all time. Eclipse, I've heard compared to it often enough. Not necessarily that it is the same as Twilight Imperium, but in that it is an epic space-themed game all about, building up a big space civilization. So I'm curious to try this one and just kind of see how I feel it stacks up. Yeah, other than that, I really don't know too much about the game itself. I gotta look into it a little bit more, but I am excited to get this one played. This one is one that I picked up from a friend, and actually got this and a bunch of the expansion material, expansion content that goes along with it. So we've got a lot of it. Just got to play it. I think this one's gonna have to go on the floor because that one's pretty heavy. Please don't knock over everything. Okay. Up next, we've got Study in Emerald 2nd Edition. I'm a big fan of Martin Wallace games. Most of the games of his that I've played, while I may not have loved the game, I found something that I loved in the game. I think Martin Wallace does really cool things with kind of experimenting with different mechanisms, and I like the fact that a lot of his games don't necessarily feel the same. Again, don't know too much about this. The theme is excellent. I am also a big fan of Neil Gaiman as a writer, and so I have read A Study in Emerald, and I'd be curious to just see how this theme plays out in a board game. Really difficult one to find. I'm not even sure. I think I got this one in a trade quite a while back now at this point. So I'm curious to play it. It looks fun, and like I said, anything by Martin Wallace is worth looking into in my book. Then we've got Fast Sloths. This one's kind of a cute pick up and deliver style game. Pick up and deliver is a game style that I don't play a lot of that type of game. But the cute artwork, I mean, that sloth looks hilarious. The cute artwork, kind of the way that the different animals move you around the board. You are the thing being picked up and delivered in this game. It looks cute. I've heard some good things, so figured it was worth a try, and again, just haven't had a chance to get it to the table yet. Then we've got Mezzo. This is one that I grabbed at a swap meet, a local swap meet here in Michigan, and I mean, the miniatures look great. I do tend to like the kind of area control style troops on a map type game. I do like Kemet, I love. Inish, I love. So I'm curious to see how this one plays kind of in comparison to those types of games. So, yeah, excited to check that one out. I also like the theme. I like the kind of Mesoamerican style and theme to this one as well. Okay. Whew. We're getting there. We are getting there. All right. Up next is King's Dilemma. This one, I don't know that I've played a kind of legacy campaign style game yet that I haven't at least enjoyed on some level. This one, the concept of it seems so intriguing to me, that you are the leader of a noble house, making votes and trying to pass laws and things that will help advance your cause in the game. I like that type of negotiation. It's one of the things that I loved so much about games like Twilight Imperium, is trying to sway everybody to kind of vote in a way that helps me out without them fully knowing why. So very interested to get this one to the table. Campaign games in general, though, don't tend to get played nearly as often, just because of the nature of having to get the same group together each time you play. That can be a little difficult. So I know that's one of the reasons, but I mean, I have not had this one for that long either, but um, but definitely just the campaign nature of the game is going to make it a little more difficult to play or get played at least. 1 second here. Let me click off of this so our audio doesn't go away. That'd be bad. Next up, we've got Last Bastion. This is one that it's the reworking of Ghost Stories. I've heard it's quite difficult, just like Ghost Stories. It's got a medieval theme, which honestly I think I would have preferred that they stuck with the original theme. I think I like the idea of the original theme better, but this one looks pretty good too. It's got some cool minis. The boards look nice. Everything looks good. I've always been intrigued by Ghost Stories. I would like to give that a try. This one was just one that happened to come across in a trade, and so I figured, it's close enough. I can at least kind of get the Ghost Stories experience with this. So we'll give it a try, but just hasn't made it to the table yet. Next up, I've got another Martin Wallace game, Mythotopia. This one it's like a deck building troops on a map game. It looks, well, it doesn't look great, but the mechanisms sound great. It's one that I've owned for quite a while now, and I'm still really excited to play it. I'm just having trouble convincing anybody else to play it, and I think it's probably because of the way that the game looks. I don't know. I think I just gotta make a point of saying, hey, we're gonna play Mythotopia. Who's in, and see who shows up. I'm sure I could get somebody to play it, but it's been a struggle so far. But it's one that I am excited to try. Then we've got Among the Stars. These are all dusty because they've been sitting on my shelf for too long. Among the Stars, drafting style game that I always hear not necessarily compared to, but brought up in the same sentence as Seven Wonders. I like drafting as a mechanism, so when I heard that this one was compared to Seven Wonders fairly often, it was one that I wanted to try. I believe this was one that I got on consignment as well. No, this was a trade. That's right. This was a trade. I got the expansion on a consignment, but definitely looks cool. It's got some interesting concepts, but again, just has not made it to the table yet. So hopefully sometime soon. Here's another new one that is still in shrink. Cape May. You had a chance to check this one out at Gen Con a couple years back now, and it's got a really cute theme. Very charming looking game. And again, I'm not sure why this one hasn't made it to the table. It seems like it kind of fits right in that mid-weight Euro style game that we typically really enjoy. Thunderworks Games puts out some really great games, so I think you're going to find that I'm going to start running out of excuses as to why some of these games have not been played yet. I think it's just too many games and too little time, but it looks great. I'm definitely curious to give it a try, so we'll see how long that takes. And then here we've got Zermatt. This is one that I picked up at Origins last year. It's from what I understand, lighter war game about the battles in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Um, and the main reason I picked this one up is because it is from Catastrophe Games, who is very local to me. They are really just right down the road. And so when I heard about them, I definitely went to seek them out at Origins, talked to the guys there for a little bit, and picked up Zermatt. It sounds interesting, looks cool. I don't play a lot of war games. I love history themed games though, and so I think that's enough to at least get me to try a game out. So that's one of the reasons why we picked Zermatt. Okay, then we've got, this is the old school Kanban from Vital Lacerda. All about the automotive industry. It looks like a really cool business simulation. I like Vital Lacerda's games. There is a reason that they don't hit the table very often. They are usually pretty involved and in depth and take a lot of focus. So there's a reason they don't get played quite as often. But this is one that I remembered looking at not very long after we started getting into gaming, but realized that it was probably too heavy for us at the time. So when the opportunity came for me to pick it up recently, I grabbed it. This will not be the last Vital Lacerda game that you see on the list, but that one I think is pretty high up on my list of Lacerda games that I want to get played again, or get played in general, I guess. Then I've got Detective, a modern crime board game. I think the downfall for this one was that we picked this one up right around the same time that we picked up Chronicles of Crime. Chronicles of Crime we played and loved, and then this one just ended up sitting on the shelf. But we love like mystery solving style games like Chronicles of Crime. So I imagined we would really like Detective. I think, again, part of the reason is it's got kind of that campaign element to it where we're going to feel like we need to play our way through an entire story, and so then you run into that kind of commitment level that not everybody's willing to put in. All right. Next up, we've got Core Worlds, which I actually have the expansion for now also, thanks to a buddy of mine. This is an older deck building game from Stronghold, which I have not had a chance to play yet. I do like deck building games, so I was very curious about this one. It looks to be maybe a little bit on the heavier side. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks to be a little bit on the heavier side from other deck builder games that I have played, like Dominion and Star Realms, Hero Realms, those type of games. It looks like there's a little bit more going on. I'm very intrigued by it, but I'm a little bit not necessarily intimidated by it, but just it looks like there's a lot more going on, and so it probably just hasn't hit the table yet because of that. And then another deck builder. This one does not look as as in depth as Core Worlds, and this is another one that I've had for quite a while. And I don't know, maybe it's the theme that's a little bit off-putting, but Terrors of London has a theme that I like. You know, I like dark themes, horror themes in games, so it looks cool to me, but it's hard to get anybody else to really get excited about it. So that's why that one hasn't made it to the table yet. Oh, 1775 Rebellion. I picked this one up because I do own and have played 878 Vikings, which I really liked. I still enjoy Viking themed games. I don't buy them as often anymore because I already own a lot of them. But I really liked the historical aspect of 878 Vikings rather than being kind of the more fantastical Viking game. 1775 Rebellion looks really interesting because it uses the same system, from what I understand, just set in the American Revolution, which to me is a fascinating part of our history here in the US. So I really wanted to give it a try, and it's another one that just has sat on the shelf. Maybe we'll have to break this one out around the 4th of July or something, see if we can get it to the table then. All right, now we've got a Funko game. Godzilla Tokyo Clash. This one I picked up just because I'm a big fan of the Godzilla franchise. Even more so, even the older movies. I haven't watched as many of the newer movies yet, but especially as a kid, I loved Godzilla movies. And so when I saw this one, I knew I had to pick it up. I don't know a whole lot about it. All I know is it's Godzilla. That was enough for me. Someday I'll play it and find out exactly what you do, but it looks like you're fighting other monsters, so it sounds amazing to me. Okay. Then we've got War of the Worlds from Gray Fox. 2-player deck building game. Looks like there's sort of a map element to it. Don't really know much about this. This was one, again, that we picked up at Gen Con on one of the later days, so we got a pretty solid deal on it. We picked this one up along with For Science, which was a really fun cooperative dexterity game. And so we got this one kind of in the same deal. Just haven't managed to get this one played yet. I really don't know much about this one at all. I believe it's the Kickstarter version of it too, but someday we'll open it up and try it out. Okay. This is another big one. This is one that's probably going to take a long time to get to the table and a long time to play once it hits the table. The Colonists. I believe this is a game that can last up to like 7 or 8 hours from what I've heard. Although I believe you can break it down into more manageable time frames if you need to. I have watched how this game plays. It does look like a game that I would like. I just can't really get that big of a game to the table all that often, so that's definitely going to be why this one has not made it yet, but I'm excited to try it. Okay, then we've got, sorry if you can hear my dog barking upstairs, must be a new package is getting delivered. Next up we've got Unfathomable, which is not a fantastic name. I don't like having to say unfathomable. But I always wanted to try Battlestar Galactica. By the time I realized I wanted to play Battlestar Galactica, it was super out of print and hard to get. And so when they announced this one, it was one that I picked up right away. When we found out that they had it at Gen Con, I bought it sight unseen. I have looked into how it plays. Sounds great. It's a longer kind of thematic game, which again does not tend to hit the table quite as often with our game group. Just because our wheelhouse tends to be kind of the midweight to heavier Euro. So I'm sure that's why this one hasn't been played yet. Plus, we would like to play it at the higher player counts, just for thematic effect of having multiple people kind of running around the ship doing the same thing. More chances of kind of tradery interactions, which is one of the reasons that I'm so intrigued by it. Um, yeah, I can't wait to play it. Hopefully, I get a chance soon. I'd like to have just a big old group of people over to play this one someday, soon-ish. Oh, that's all on that side. So now we're down to just the final stack. Whew. Genotype from Genius Games, a game all about genetics, and we've played. What was the name of the other one? Cellulose. We played Cellulose from Genius Games, and that one didn't really click with us. I think partly we were expecting it to be a little bit heavier than it was. I think if you're looking for I would say it's probably a midweight Euro style game that does teach you a lot about plant cell structure and how it works and everything, then I think you should check out Cellulose. But for us, it wasn't quite what we were looking for. Genotype, I've heard a lot of great things about, so I'm excited to play it. I'm hoping that this one will kind of scratch that itch that we were hoping for from Cellulose. Here is Belfort. This is an older TMG game that I've owned for quite a while. Just have not made it to the table yet. I don't know too much about it. It looks great. I remember watching the How to Play when I first picked it up and thinking, hey, that looks like something I'm going to love. And I think partly because nobody else in my game group really looked into it that much, I think that's part of the reason why it's not making it to the table. I've got the expansion in here as well, so hopefully someday we'll get it played. I remembered thinking there were some pretty cool concepts. The whole fantasy construction theme is pretty cute. So definitely like to try that one out. And then I've got two Lacerdas left. First one is Lisboa. Oh, where can you see me? Where am I not hiding behind this giant box? Lisboa, one of the heavier games I think that we own in our collection. And again, I love Vital Lacerda's games. I want to play them more, but because of their weight and kind of the difficulty in learning them, I believe that's why they just don't make it to the table as often. But I'm excited to play it. I've heard it's great. Just it's one that we have to really kind of psych ourselves up for and really prepare for. So hopefully soon. I've heard it's fantastic, along with On Mars, which is another game that could block me out if it wanted to. Just like Lisboa, same reason that this one has not hit the table yet. This one I think even rates higher on BGG than Lisboa. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe On Mars has overtaken Lisboa in the BGG Top 100. I am super excited to play this. I love the idea of this game. I liked Terraforming Mars when that first came out. I kind of have moved away from that one at this point, but I love the idea of Mars-themed games, kind of the whole colonizing of Mars as a theme it's just hard to find one that I think looks like a good fit for myself and for our game group. This one, while it is heavier, so it may not make it to the table as often, still seems like the type of game that we would really like. So that's On Mars. And that, my friends, was the very last game. Um, Hopefully, oh, I hope my audio didn't turn off just there. Hopefully this sounds good still. uh, Hopefully this was entertaining to go through. I would really like recommendations as to which one you think I should play next. Some of these are ones that I'll probably be putting on a... We use a games of interest list to choose what we play for our weekly game nights. So some of these may make it on there at some point, but there's quite a few, and I'm hoping to get most of these played as soon as possible. But you know how that goes. I think we have all kind of been in that situation before where you've got just a pile of games. All right, everybody, those are all the games on my shelf of shame. Let me know in the comments what ones you think I should play, and until next time, let's get another round for the table.